Hello and welcome to this amazingly 3D, for us at least, version of Stories of Facilitating Software Design and Architecture. That's the title that I use. What about you? Okay, Kenny, say some words.
Yeah, we're here at DDD Europe, and it's a special time because we're all a speaker, and we thought in this get-together, we're just going to talk with some people around the conference here, see what they have for short bite-sized questions, right? Andrew?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be wandering around and asking unsuspecting conference attendees and maybe some speakers the question that Kenny said to find out what they do for facilitating software architecture and design.
We're here with Matthias. Hello, Matthias.
Hi.
So, Matthias, please tell us what is really important to you when facilitating software design and architecture.
I have an anecdote. This was from 2015, I think. I was consulting at a company to do modeling and the maintenance design. And one problem was that they had a team working on core stuff, but it was always a huge problem. It was always a mess. They would always get complaints from dependent teams. And so I started investigating, asking questions and mapping everything else that was not the architecture, not just the architecture, but like the social network, the value creation network, these kind of things. And I uncovered that this team was building core stuff. There were teams in each country that were doing customer facing, like small customizations on top of the core stuff. And these teams could actually all make commits in the other team's core thing. And they would also often just ask for feature requests. And then all the other teams would complain, of course, that they broke something, but this team got blamed all the time.
Yep.
And then I looked at how the money worked, and all these teams were basically profit centers working directly with customers. This was just seen as a cost. And these teams, at least some of the big ones, had the ear of the CEO. So they would be able to complain about this team, and this team would only be mentioned to the CEO when stuff was going wrong, which was actually caused by all these different actors.
A common pattern.
Yes. So, but by exposing that, we saw that the legacy is not a problem with the team itself or with the technology or the software itself, but with the whole organizational structure. I proposed, of course, to make this team, first of all, shielded so nobody could make commits anymore. Everything had to be a request that they could balance against all the other needs, of course. But then on top of that, the other teams, the local teams, would have to pay for feature requests so that they had a revenue model. And because their actual cost, their profits are public in the company, but their costs are externalized to this one team. So unfortunately, they did not do it. I did not have the ear of the CEO. But it's like, there's always other layers and things that you are maybe not looking at if you're using a narrow lens of event storming or Wardley mapping or any tool. There's the layers of culture, social networks, value, money, all these things that.
So how did you facilitate? What are the bits of facilitation you had to do to navigate this? Kind of first thing was you talked a lot about the discovery. It's like, okay, I surfaced this, which is obviously super useful because then you can go like, this is what's happening. What are we going to do about it?
So how did I surface it?
Yeah.
Part of it was just, asking questions and trying to find how does this happen? Like, because nobody has that full picture at that point, right?
No.
Nobody can tell you that.
No, people are just complaining and being frustrated.
Yeah.
On every side.
But I put that on the map. If somebody says, ugh, and I say, oh, what does this ugh mean? Let's put that on the map. Yeah, I don't like working with this system. Okay, let's have a new notation. So I invent notation as I go along.
Oh, cool.
Okay, we'll have a notation now for one red dot means I don't like working on this. 2 red dots means I really hate working on this. 3 red dots is I would rather quit than working on this.
Wow, okay.
So you can put that on the map. That is valuable information.
Absolutely.
Any kinds of bottlenecks, like, who's protecting access to the CEO is something you could put on a map.
Yep.
You make all these layers. The customers always complain about this. 1 dot, 3 dots, You start seeing clusters of stuff.
Yep.
The customers always complain it's not being sponsored very well. There's a lot of churn in the team. You see all these different factors overlaid on each other, and you start to, okay, a lot of color here. What's wrong, right? What's
At
happening?
least it gives you a really visual way to kind of go like, okay,
Yeah.
problems here.
So then you see that it's not just a technical problem or a people problem or
Yeah.
it's systemic problems. It's a combination of, if you can surface that, then you don't even have to solve the problem most of the time, because people are now seeing, oh, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way.
Oh, I like that as a heuristic. It's like sometimes surfacing the social issue is a way in which the problem starts solving itself.
Yeah. People solve problems. We're problem solvers, but we solve problems that we are, that are visible to us, right? That's a natural instinct. That's very normal. Availability bias.
Maybe we need to do what Einar suggested with when it comes to social dynamics, and just maybe they should throw a party so everyone gets together.
But that as well, right? Like, how do I surface these things? Sometimes it's just going to lunch with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's making sure that some of the people are not in the room, because people might be more open about certain things if their boss is not there, or someone they see as a bottleneck to that.
Absolutely.
So find ways of not just I love to get everybody in the room. It's very productive. There's some chaos, and in chaos, the new links.
Yeah, and then
exist.
emergence and convergence.
But sometimes the details and the frustrations and the opinions are a bit more hidden.
Excellent.
So I put those on the map.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Matthias. Thank you for your time and for sharing this with us.
My pleasure.
We've got Zsófia with us. And
Hi.
Zsófia, we were wondering if you could tell us about maybe a challenge that you've had with trying to facilitate sessions about software and architecture design.
Well, that's not one particular challenge. It was and has been very challenging, actually, because, dealing with people, especially who are not that curious and not willing to participate in those modeling sessions, in those developing those shared understanding moments. So there are a lot of people, in my experience at least, who didn't want to do that or was neglecting to do that. And for me, it's the most difficult part to deal with those people, because it's on me probably, but I really hardly can accept that other people don't really have that same curiosity level than me.
Yeah, no, I
And
can
it's
imagine.
just, it differs. I need to accept it. I need to approach the situation accordingly.
So you got any tips for like trying to change the situation or make it easier, or?
What I did is I try to lead by example. That's all. And sometimes it's stick for people, sometimes it's not. But I stay curious. I stay enthusiastic, let's say, whenever I do a session or whatever I facilitate, even at my work. So even when people just sit there and just looking at me, I just try to be enthusiastic. And that's sometimes working, sometimes not. But still, it is what it is. It is me. Like I really like facilitation. And also the topics usually I am in. So
Yeah, looks.
yeah,
Well, that's great. Thank you very much.
thank you.
I'm here with Stefan. You're a domain storyteller, inventor, right? So you do a lot of collaborative modeling. So I'm curious to know, once you started, what was the biggest challenge for you to do collaborative software design or architecture?
So I chose the profession of software development because I like computers. And suddenly I find myself in rooms filled with people and no computers. And we use sticky notes and whiteboards and whatnot. And so that was a big challenge, like, going out of my comfort zone and talk to people, interact with them. But I had great role models that helped me. So I had a chance to follow the footsteps of some other people that came before me. And then what was a big motivator for this shift and putting yourself out there is writing the code has never really been the problem. So requirements, understanding what to build, building good, usable business processes, supporting users, that is the problem. And once my mindset shifted there from I need to write great code into I need to build great things and great solutions, then I was able to open up to this challenge of interacting with people and yeah.
So what
Well-
would be a tip that you might give to the listeners, readers, watchers, starting or already in collaborative modeling, doing collaborative modeling? What
Okay,
helped you?
If you've never done it before, find a local meetup, a conference, whatever. They usually have hands-on workshops, so sessions at a very low barrier where you can try this stuff out. It's really about trying it. It's books, etc. help, but eventually you need to do it yourself. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, and that's
Fine.
why these conferences like DDD Europe, Kandinsky, Explore DDD help, I guess, right? Because
exactly,
there's a lot of
yeah.
hands-on.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You're welcome again, Kenny.
I'm here with Samantha, and
That's
we're
Walter.
hoping you can tell us about a thing that you found difficult with trying to facilitate software architecture and design, like a kind of thing that you've encountered.
Well, one of the challenging things I found is like all the way in the beginning, just trying to convince people that it's a thing that needs to happen. Because people are so used to, like developers, domain experts, they're used to their little bit of the whole, right? And they don't see it as a bounded conflict. They see it like, I need to do a little bit here, a little bit there. And they don't see the connections. They don't see the isolation. And then to get them to think about how, like, is this interacting? What is the bigger picture? It's very difficult, I find, for people to get into.
That's so true. And have you got any tips? Have you ever managed to solve this maybe sometimes? Or-
Solving is difficult, but I find if you can start with like a model of the whole thing. So you do maybe even just an event storming for the big picture design, and you can show like, hey, these are the things we think that exist. And can you find your space in this? And how do you think like what parts of this can we take, set with bit that is more manageable? And then what are the connections with that? And if they can visualize it, because if it's just words, people can't comprehend it too easily. And so I find that helps a lot.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we're here with Eric Evans, and we're talking about facilitating software design and architecture. And the question for you, Eric, is, you prefer to, I assume, work with people and design software and do architecture with people. But maybe you could do it not that way. So why do you do it the way that you do it? And maybe you can explain how you do things.
So for a start, I think it is a lot more fun designing with other people. Like creative, a creative session at a whiteboard, imagining all the possible designs and everything. It's really one of the most fun things. And then the other thing is, though, that it just doesn't work. I mean, I remember when I was starting, and most of the time we did not have that. I was, junior programmer or even a senior programmer or leading a team. And we would get assigned a feature or something and program the feature without any real interaction with anybody. And the results were terrible.
Yep.
And so I guess originally I did it because it just seemed like the only way we ever got anything to actually work. But I would say that now so that's my real answer. And then I would say it's actually genuinely a fun thing to do.
But Eric, nobody cares about fun anymore.
Yeah.
We all care about just money and delivering fast.
Yeah.
I'm being
okay.
cynical, by the way.
But delivering fast comes from doing smart things. And I think that humans have all kinds of useful instinctive feelings in our brains, like that guide us. Like, if you see a dangerous snake, your brain reacts with fear and so on. And that's because for millions of years, that people who didn't react that way didn't do as well as the ones who did react that way. And I think that the sense of fun is a really useful guide. I think doing things that are fun, there's usually some value in there. Like, I really believe that. And I think it's, I have a pretty long career at this point. And
Well, like 10 years, right?
Oh, only the last 10 years counts, of course. But but it does go back before there, just a little bit. And just a couple years further back. But anyway, during this time, if I reflect, I would say that most of the really valuable things were, in fact,
Really fun.
really fun.
Yeah.
And the projects where it was just a terrible drudgery generally didn't work out so well. Of course, every project, no matter how fun and how collaborative, whatever, everything has its drudgery. You go through those little crunch periods and stuff that's not fun. I don't mean to say you should be having fun every minute of every day, but I do think that matters. And I think it's a useful guide. It's something people should listen to in their own head. And so collaborating with domain experts, right? That's one of the things that we just have to do, whether we like it or not. But I think
Might as well enjoy it while you're doing it.
yeah. And it's probably a guide to how well it's working, right? Like try to find the fun in it, try to engage them in a way that's fun for them. All this really helps. It really, really helps for one thing, because you need them to come back. You need them to do it more. And now we're collaborating with AI agents. So, at least that's probably my most common form of collaboration right now is I spend hours, talking to Claude Code or something. And it follows something of the same pattern, I would say. So it is really, of course, quite different. But yeah, that would be my answer.
That's your answer. And so imagine maybe a young and naive Eric many years ago, but he's here right now. So it's like you, but you were, time traveled to here. Your clone of you being 22 is time traveled here, and he hears collaboration good. And he goes like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. So what would be your tips to young Eric?
Oh my goodness. Young Eric has a lot of learning to do. Right?
I know, right?
I think, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I hadn't thought about that. But actually, I wasn't in software when I was 22. I didn't actually study that in college. I had a math physics degree. And then I went off and traveled a little bit in South America for a while. And then I went back to grad school and then eventually got into software. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't have been talking to young Eric about how to participate in a software project.
What would you tell him anyway then?
Oh, well, what happens when you're 22 stays where you're 22. I would say, don't do that thing, which 22-year-old me knows what I'm talking about.
But so the darkness secret around 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's some things we just don't talk about. Me
Good to
and
know.
22-year-old.
Good to know. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you for being at Virtual DDD.
That was a lot of fun.
Our next person today at DDD Europe and this Stories of Facilitating Software Architect Design is Henning. Oh, no. Hey, Henning. Now I see double. Oh, my first question to you is that we ask everyone is, name me a challenge that you had when you're trying to facilitate software architecture and design.
Yeah. So when I facilitate software architecture and design, for me, that typically means understanding processes, so collaborative modeling. And for me, this challenge has always stayed the same, and that is get the right people. So if you don't have people that have real domain knowledge, if you have only proxies or only developers or only managers that think what's happening, but that do not really know what's happening, then no matter how much collaborative modeling you're going to do, it will not help to get to the real process. And when you don't understand the real business, then you will not be able to build great software to support that real business.
It will be easier collaborative modeling alone, right? Because you don't have all these humans.
Yeah, you can only model, you don't need the collaboration, right?
Yeah. So what's one tip that you would give to our viewers, listeners, readers that you think, well, this really helped me, or I still use to this day to help me move forward?
So I'm a programmer. I came into programming because I wanted to do something with computers, right? And then I learned, well, programming is at least as much about people as it is about bits and bytes. And so what I would recommend, especially younger people that come into our profession, is to not forget that and to see, hey, it's not only that I have to learn the newest technology. So currently, of course, you want to do something with AI, and tomorrow it will be another hype topic. And yesterday it was a different hype topic. That might also be interesting to know these technologies. But do not focus only on that. Focus also on the other part, on this understanding, people understanding what they are doing. Because that will always help, no matter what the technology will be tomorrow or in 10 years. We will still have to understand our users, our subject matter experts.
Yeah, and this is what I heard last week at a keynote as well. People discovering AI now. It's like, hey, you know what's handy? Understanding the problem domain. So domain-driven design is still relevant. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
I'm here with Hadi, who's another attendee at the DDD Europe.
Hi.
So Hadi, what is some kind of challenge which you've experienced when you've been trying to work with others to facilitate software architecture and design?
In my experience, the most challenging part is always working with people and the, socio-political aspects of working, especially if you're working in a big companies, real enterprises, the way people work with each other, collaborate with each other. And I always find that part, especially the most challenging part, especially for me, because I have an engineering background. I think most of us have the engineering background. So we are always into codes and patterns and, computer stuff. But when it comes to working with people, and we were just talking about the power structures before and they are really what causes the most issues in my experience.
Cool. And have you got any tips that you've learned, things that work sometimes to maybe not get rid of them because you can't get rid of them, but to like work with them?
For me, the biggest tip is that try to get some studies out of software engineering, because being in the software engineering is always about coding and designing and implementing. But when you go outside and you study about people, study about language, study about that's actually how I got into DDD.
Okay, cool. Yeah, exactly. So like paying attention to things bigger than outside.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. That's brilliant. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome. I'm here with Alexandra.
Hello.
So, Alexandra, we wanted to ask you, can you tell us about why should we do facilitative work when we're doing software design and not just kind of tell people what to do?
Because we are all human beings. I teach students at the University of Applied Sciences in Switzerland, in Lucerne. And I want to plant these seedlings that working as a software engineer is not sitting alone in your room. It's interacting with people. It's trying to understand what their needs are. It's communicating. It's writing down, forming a model. And I think collaborative techniques like big picture event storming are a great way to engage my students into modeling.
That's amazing. And do you have any tips for people that might be struggling to get started, or they don't know, maybe they work in a place that nobody does collaborative things, and they think that something is missing? What do you have any kind of suggestions on how to swap to better?
Sure, just do it. Just start. I'm a beginner as well. I'm already living. So many things had to happen that I can be here. So there is nothing to lose. We can just start.
That's an amazing way to think to close on. Thank you very much for joining us at Bird for DDD.
You're welcome.
See you
It's a
later.
great pleasure.
Thank you.
Hello. And I'm very happy that we catch Susanne here at DDD Europe. You gave a talk
Yes. Workshop.
and a workshop.
Yes, 2 days.
About actually architectural for flow.
Mhm.
So our question is, of course, when you do all these collaborative things or making facilitative design and architectural decision, what's one of the most challenging things you experience?
One of the challenging things is to bring the right people first in the room to have this conversation, to explore the domain together, and also to sell it's kind of like just selling the idea that it's an investment right now, a time investment. But it's beneficial to understand your problem domain first before you then going into the solution space. And sometimes, specifically for management, they are sometimes pretty reluctant to support this financially from the budget, since they only see 15 people are gathering in the room for 3 days and they are not working on their backlog. And so they see that it's a missing opportunity. And in fact, it's just like it's gaining opportunities, right? So we're exploring the domain together in order to derive a better solution for a problem domain that we want to solve. And I guess they don't see sometimes the gap between like how I see it from software architecture perspective and how it is perceived from the management level, that is more like a cost instead of like an investment. And that is something that I find sometimes challenging. And so whenever then specifically software engineering teams approach me, like how shall we then this communicate with management to get buy-in, it's more like that I try to switch into their language and to figure out like, okay, what are their outcomes they want to achieve and how does it connect with what we want to achieve? Because we all have the same goal in the end, but we speak different languages, and how we can then align them to that we have the same common picture, same common goal we want to approach to. So that's what I would say is sometimes more challenging
Yeah.
getting a leadership buy-in than working to collaborating with the software development team.
And that
And
would be
the-
also your tip then, right? Find
Yeah.
their pain,
Exactly.
and then you can create a shared gain. I guess, if I
Exactly.
can-
It's again, switching into their language.
Yeah.
And so I also like to point out or to reference then the Accelerate book, for example, where we have this link how much impact software delivery performance have on productivity, profitability, market share. So these are then numbers, or that is the language that they mentioned can better grasp. And going from there, like how is it connected? Or with the papers, like how software quality correlates with defects, and that has a decrease in it has a direct impact on your business outcomes, and how to connect our world with the world that the upper management or leadership then can translate and refer to.
For them. Thanks for your tips.
Thank you
And,
for having me here.
Yeah, and hope to see you in a future recording as well.
Yes,
So this is
absolutely,
the
my
official
pleasure.
invite.
That's the official invite.
This is
I'm
the
happy
official invite.
to be on your
Perfect.
channel.
Thank you. Hope to hear a story from you very soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What is the story that changed your architecting and software design career? That is the question for you. Thank you so much for listening to us saying words. All the best. See you soon.
Thank you.